Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So have a good one. Have a good 420. This will be the time to blaze up. This will be the time to blaze up. Alright. Deep Space Nine. They're in the middle of a war. Benjamin Sisko, first African American captain. Initially he wasn't a captain. They made him a captain as the show went on. But first African American captain they were aware of. Now, this particular captain is on Deep Space Nine. It's a Federation space station, but it used to be a Cardassian space station. And that space station is at the mouth of a wormhole into another quadrant of the galaxy. In that quadrant is a race called the Dominion. And not really a race, it's more of a group. But the founders, changelings, one group essentially conquered the others and created the Dominion. Now, Sisko is spit and polish Star Trek officer. He's one of the aspects of Star Trek for the most part. If you watch, these guys are impeccable. They're peak humanity in that sense. They're like the optimum human. But again, you can understand why. For the most part, their social needs are met. They're living in a society that understands that there are certain things that people need in order to be optimum human beings. Well, they meet those needs. So those people, yes, are optimum human beings. It's not magic. It's not... A person can behave pretty damn well when all of his needs are met. Now, in this particular case, though, he's spit and polish. So it's not like, he goes all breaking the rules and everything else. But on this one particular day, they're in a war. That war is with the Dominion, a group of planets from the other quadrant. The Federation is losing that war. They're losing that war. And they projected that for the most part, the Federation was going to be destroyed in X amount of months or years. Now, the Federation was working with Klingon Empire. The Dominion was working with the Cardassian Empire. Now, this is the catch. The Federation needed somebody else in this war with them. Otherwise, they were going to lose. So Sisko is relaying this to a computer. Meaning, when the show starts, he talks to the computer and says, he starts, saying what he has to say. And as he tells this, you realize this is a confession. It's a confession. He is telling you something that he did that from a Starfleet officer's standpoint was monstrous. Now, this man has impeccable integrity. Because understand, he's a Starfleet officer, and he takes that term seriously. These guys are literally formal officers at that point. So, how he relates to the other people on his staff, for the most part, are like a military thing. Star Trek's not military, but in this capacity, they are functioning as a military. Because they're at war. Sisko explains, what is he going to do? He'd just been told that the Federation was going to lose this war, and that the Dominion, for the most part, was going to be able to take over their quadrant of the galaxy. Now, one of the people on the ship was a Cardassian. Now, as a Cardassian, he has, let's say, a great history. So let's not go into his history. But he goes to Sisko and he tells him, look, I can help you do what you need to do. To, put it this way. Sisko wanted the Romulans in that war. The Romulans, for the most part, were kind of like Vulcans, but they had an empire and everything else. They were pretty potent. They were powerful. He wanted them into the war. He needed him into the war. Not just wanted, because if the Romulans stayed out of the war, the Federation was toast. They had nothing else. The Klingon ships were being destroyed. Their Federation ships were being destroyed. And they keep pumping more Jem'Hadar through that through the wormhole. Or better yet, the wormhole was closed. But that was going to change because they took Deep Space Nine at one point. But that's besides the point. Sisko is relaying this message saying, I need that guy on my side. Now, he has a conversation with the Romulan guy. The guy wasn't hearing it. Alright. Now, so Sisko's plan was, alright, if we have a disc showing the Jem'Hadar and was planning on attacking Romulus, then we can get him on our side. We can get him on our side. That's the catch. But how the hell are you going to get that data? How are you going to get that proof to give to the Romulan Empire to show that, hey, these guys are going to attack you, so you may want to just join with us? Well, you forge it, of course. So this is road to hell. It's paved with good intentions. And I mean, good depending upon the person who you're talking to from perspective. Romulus wanted nothing to do with this particular war. The Federation was desperate to get them into the war. Sisko got a forged disc and gave it to them with hopes that they would look at this and say, all right, we're in. Now, the disc was supposed to be impeccable and it was supposed to be fuck-up proof. Well, not so much. They were found out. Now, the guy comes in to Sisko and there's this awesome scene where he's like, it's a fake! It was a fake. He was found out. Now, Sisko, at this particular point, is at the depths of despair. Because that Romulan's leaving. And he knows full well that the Federation is busted in regards to being able to put up any meaningful defense. The Romulan gets on his ship and it explodes. Now, Sisko talks to the Cardassian, I can't think of his name, Gareth, and he asks him, he's like, what the hell did you do to their ship? And Gareth was like, do you need me to tell you what I did to the ship? Essentially, he put a bomb on that ship to explode the ship. The thought being that, yes, it's a fake, but any defects in the disc would just be attributed to the bomb, to the blow up of the ship. And so they would consider it as real because the defects were to be expected. It's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, this is exactly how it panned out. Exactly how it panned out. And Gareth kind of made this point like, you knew what you were getting into because you knew it was necessary. And Gareth is right. Sisko exactly knew what was going on. Now, he may not have wanted it, but he knew he didn't have a choice but to do it. This integrity field officer allowed a plan in place to blow up a high-ranking official in the Romulan Empire with the idea that they can get Romulus into the war by casting that blame on the Jem'Hadar. How does he resolve that? Sisko is relaying this story with a burdenous heart of sorts. And he said, if I had to do it over again, yes, I probably would. Erase data. Nobody's going to hear the shit ever. That's essentially what took place. Now, the interesting part in this is, where does integrity ends and reality begins? Like, where's the point where the rubber meets the road with integrity? Like, where's that? What's that level where it gets to the point where your integrity has to bend, because if it doesn't, what's going to take place is just more monstrous. Now, from Sisko's point of view, he needed Romulus in that empire, or millions and millions of people were going to die. We're talking about planets. We had how many millions of people die in World War II? What, 50 million? We're talking about planets. About trillions of lives in the balance. They're going to lose. Does your integrity allow you to lose an entire galaxy? That's some pretty heavy fucking integrity. Like, if it's to that degree where your integrity is like, no, that's not the right thing to do, you're losing a galaxy. You're losing a galaxy. Where does it end? Where does integrity end? I think that's a fascinating question. I mean, Sisko, for the most part, clearly, his integrity ended the moment that the Federation was going to take an L. Now, I guess the question becomes, why does integrity matter at all? Why does it matter? Think about it. When we're talking about integrity, the only thing we're talking about is consistency. Like, this particular person's logic or the things they say is consistent with, you know, whatever kind of logical process there is. Meaning, all right, this guy says he's this, and he does this to confirm that. But why does it matter? Why do you have to be consistent? Like, what's the there that's inconsistency that makes integrity what it is? Like, is it just trust? you know, integrity gives me this idea that I can trust this particular person not to do something. Maybe that's what it is. Because but at the same token, what was at stake? Like, where does it, would a spit and polish officer say, no, Gary, we're not going to try that. We're going to do something else and we're going to figure it out? Or is there a point where your integrity needs to bend, which in some degree brings you into a higher degree of integrity? Like, the integrity to be able to break your integrity, meaning to smear yourself in a sense, allows you to a higher goal or a higher level of integrity of sorts. It's almost like breaking through the ceiling. The very act of giving it up is the act of achieving more. It's fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing. I love that. Because it does make sense. It's essentially saying, this guy has something in him that's instilled this inner workings that he wants to be logically consistent. Because that's, again, integrity. I say X, and I do X. And I do something to confirm those things. Meaning my actions is consistent with my words. I'm making a point of, why do your actions need to be consistent with your words, particularly if you're trying to achieve something? Now, I think, again, it goes back to the thing of trust. I can trust you if your actions are consistent with your words. Otherwise, I have nothing else that I can judge you by. And I would imagine that's pretty threatening if you had somebody who you couldn't trust anything that came out of their mouth and any signal that they put out. There'll be a wild card. But in this particular case, the galaxy is at stake. Does he need to be inner consistent? And it's the fact that he's willing to break that consistency. Even though it would hurt him to break that consistency, he would do it because of what was at stake. In which case, you're bringing him to some kind of higher degree of morality in the process. Can you call that a reaffirming of integrity? It's like having integrity to break your integrity. To break the inner workings or the inner consistency and saying, all right, no, this is where it is. To having integrity to do that. Essentially, to have the integrity to break your integrity. Does that bring you to a higher degree of integrity? Because understand, the galaxy was at stake. Like, I understand this thing of, I need to be consistent. You're talking about trillions of lives. Isn't the higher morality at that point better than your integrity? Meaning, the morality of the situation requires me to break my integrity, requires me to break these things that I myself hold dear and true. In which case, you're bringing yourself to this higher degree of morality, a higher degree of rightness. You can even say a higher degree of integrity to be able to do it and to know when to break it. Yeah, I like that. I have to admit, that was one of my favorite episodes. It really is. Of all the Star Trek series, that is probably one of my favorites. It's action and everything else, but for the most part, it's the inner workings of a man working shit out with immense consequences on his shoulders. And not just conceptual, like real world, people are dying by the millions. I've been looking at these reports, all of these names, and at a certain point I got to the point where I stopped looking at the report because I was bored with looking at the names. Like, it's that level of, this is what's at stake. His integrity took an L. His integrity totally took an L. But I'd argue that his integrity should have taken an L. It is a higher degree of integrity to be able to break your integrity for something that matters. Now the question becomes, Sanders, Bernie Sanders, is there a point where he is going to shed his integrity for a higher degree of integrity? Meaning, does that apply? Now, no, he doesn't have galaxies. It's not, Bernie Sanders is not some space slayer. It's not like that. But in regards to human terms, the man is a socialist. He feels like he's in enemy territory, and to some degree he is in enemy territory. And in his mind, I need to change the world. I have a vision of what this world or this country can be. I want to get us to that place. Would you feel like you needed to utilize a party's device in order to make that work? Like, if you made a decision that said, all right, if we're going to change things, I need to leverage what I have to get these people's support. So, yes, I'm going to shed my integrity by following a narrative. But I'm also going to put one bill up after the next, and I'm going to make these guys sign on to those things. And I'm going to be running candidates against those people who are to the left of these candidates. Meaning I'm going to try to take the party over from the inside. But in order to do that, I need to work within the party lines, particularly against somebody who I think is dangerous. Meaning it's like walking a tightrope in that sense. Now, where's the point where your integrity ends? Sisko's point was the galaxy. And again, we don't have these epic terms of the galaxies at stake. Trillions of lives are at stake. But from human terms, from our typical day scale terms, you are talking about millions of people. You are talking about the living situation and condition of millions of people. We don't quantify pain in the sense of a kid not having enough to eat, or a kid not having breakfast in the morning before going to school, or mom not being able to give a particular dinner or food choice. I mean, I'm just saying, your range of motion is determined for the most part by how much capital you have in your pocket. Many of these kids are growing up with low-wage jobs, meaning their parents are growing up with low-wage jobs. You can understand those situations financially will be brutally tough. The point I'm getting at is, if Sanders is looking at this situation, he's quantifying a certain degree of pain. And he's saying, I can help X amount of people by doing X. I mean, that would be the most logical thing to do from his standpoint. From my standpoint, breaking through the party and destroying that party would be the best thing to do. But is it possible that I'm wrong on this? Like, I keep going back and forth with this in my head in the sense of, okay, am I wrong on this? I just have this feeling that he has more support where he can break that party. Sanders leaving the Democratic Party destroys the Democratic Party. Full stop. Destroys the party. What are they going to do? You have millions of people who's left that party. There are few Hillbots. That's true. But are you talking about the number of independents? The number of Democrats that will cross over? The number of leftists? All these people would cross over into this mix, including some Republicans. That guts the Democratic Party. It guts them right off the bat. Now, you do have a second problem, though, believe it or not. If they're running a candidate, you're running a candidate, or Republicans are running a candidate, your 2 votes may in some degree cancel out, leaving this guy to win. That's the rub. That's the rub. Now, is it possible that Sanders is looking at that and saying, A, I don't have the drive to do it. I'm nearly 80 years old. I'm ancient. B, destroying that party allows Republicans to run roughshod. Because these guys wouldn't be able to get in office. But now they're with the Sanderites. Because ultimately, you have to have a certain quantity of the vote to win. Meaning, you two can cancel out. Think of it as Ross Perot, George Bush, and I think it was Bill Clinton. And Perot essentially pulled votes from Bush because those two were mostly ideologically close, leaving Bill Clinton to take Bush out of his seat early. That could be a problem. And look, maybe it's one of those things where he's like, look, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to be responsible for destroying that party. And I can't foresee all of the consequences of me doing that, including the amount it will cost, the ability to get those things up and running in each of the states, etc., etc., etc. Is it crazy to say I'm going to use the party apparatus to change the country? I'm going to put a new driver in the bus, and I'm going to get progressives elected. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. I'm not sure he's right, but I don't think he's crazy. Look, I could be wrong. Sanders has been in politics for a hell of a lot longer than I've been alive. So, take it with a grain of salt. But in both cases, the people are making a decision to cash in their integrity for something they themselves deem to be a higher cause. Meaning, No, I'm not a Democrat, but yes, I'm functioning to get people in the Democratic Party. Russia, Russia, Russia. Syrian Bashar al-Assad need to be taken out of his seat. One Democratic thing after another. I said, don't call him a socialist, call him a Democrat. That's how he's been acting. Is it possible he's doing that, again, with this idea of opposition to Trump? Here's another point, and I'll end it on this because this is getting kind of long. In the same way that if your objective was to tie up an opponent, meaning that guy is dangerous, we need to do something because that guy is absolutely dangerous, he's a maniac. Meaning, if they believe it, full on believe it, that guy's a maniac. And if Sanders himself believes it, that guy's a maniac, he's unpredictable, I don't know what he's going to do in that office. I can see him doing that with the Democrats. I can see him functioning in that way. I can even see him doing the Russia thing because it ties up somebody who he thinks is unpredictable and problematic. Because again, we're getting back to this whole consistency thing. Where's your integrity? Trump lies through his teeth. He's completely inconsistent on all that stuff. There's no inner consistency to it, so there's no way to trust him. It's a wild card. That's a problem. Now, the Sanders look at that and says, all right, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. I have to function with these guys because this is the only team around that's opposition. And so, yes, I need to toe a particular narrative. Yes, I need to say certain things that I'm not going to like to say, or I wouldn't typically say. That guy's a monster. We need to do something about that guy. Maybe I kind of want to say yes. I can see that thought process. In which case, you would do any and everything possible to tie the person up. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how frivolous. Tie him up. Make that presidency a scandal from day one to the end of the presidency. One thing after another. The investigation is like, well, wait a minute. We don't have evidence for anything going on with Trump and Russia. Yeah, but Trump was trying to stop him from doing an investigation. What? There's no connection. Nobody was looking for a connection. It's the weirdest thing ever. It doesn't matter though. Tie his ass up in one investigation and scream at the top of your lungs, each and every one of you, in unison. Because unlike anything else, they're all in unison about the whole Russia thing. It's easy. It doesn't offend any of their constituents. They can say it to their heart's content. Meaning, if they can tie him up, the longer they can tie him up, the less damage you can do in that office. Would that be a strategy? And even though we're from the outside looking in, we're like, where's your integrity on this shit? You guys are such hypocrites. But on the inside, they're thinking, this guy's a maniac. He's a problem. Fuck integrity. Is that what we are? Is that what we are? Is that what Bernie Sanders is? Fuck integrity. That guy's a problem. That guy's a problem. That's his Sisko moment. That's his Sisko moment. That would be Bernie Sanders talking about it to a computer. And then at the end of it said, I'd do it again. That's essentially what's taking place. I don't know how much wind is in this Russia thing, to be honest. They're putting a special prosecutor up who's going to draw a lot of eyes and is going to make Trump look pretty bad. Whether there's anything there or not, Russia has been this red baiting thing in this country for God knows how long. So, yeah, they're going to tie him with it. It doesn't even have to have anything to actually tie him with it. Just the idea of Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump. They just want to say it over and over and over and over again. They want to get it ensconced into the public minds that Trump has something to do with Russia, even though they can't show that Trump had anything to do with Russia. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, I'll leave it at that. I think that's Bernie Sanders' moment. I really think that's Bernie Sanders' moment. That's his Sisko moment. Whether he's right or not, I have no idea. No idea. I tend to want him to be more brutal, to be honest. But that's just me. That's just me. I tend to want him to be more brutal. I tend to want to destroy the party that cheated him. That's what I want. And I would hope he would be as vengeful as I would. That's what I would hope. You cheated me. I had the opportunity to do great things for this country and you kneecapped me. You put the weakest candidate we've ever had up and she lost to reality shows. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.